Okay, everybody, happy Wednesday. Big waves to you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, all right. Well, we're going to get this thing started. I see Jerry and Allison Wyndham, Ashley Paulson. Ashley could probably bring us some background, seeing she's in a tropical paradise or has been. I don't know if she's still there. So, all right. The word for today. Sorry, everybody. I got a little bit of a cough. John Frick, the word's yours, buddy. Responsible. Responsible. We didn't see, first of all, let me say this. We didn't see any birthdays today. So if it's your birthday, please let us know where we can celebrate it. But I want to go into this word responsible. I think John picked it for his word of the year to step on my toes. Because as I was preparing for this, John, I felt like I got some bruised toes over this whole responsibility thing. You ever feel really good in some areas of your life? You're like, I'm so good at this. And in other areas of your life, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so bad at this? And I think really that's what we call life. Like, that's just like part of the journey, right? Will we ever be fully good at everything? Probably not. It's the journey. So, responsible, the definition says being responsible means being accountable for your actions, decisions, commitments. It's about taking ownership, following through, and making choices that align with your success curve, with what you want to do. Okay. And as I went through this, I'm hoping I can bring it all together in this mind of mine. But when I looked at what does responsibility mean? Well, I think a lot of us would be able to say this: keep your word to your clients, partners, team members, manage your time effectively, be reliable. Oh, this was one. Own up to your mistakes. Now, I know no one on here has ever made any mistakes. It's just me, right? But how hard is it to own up to it? Look, I come into contact with people, and I've been this way before, where I'll hold a grudge for like 5 years, a grudge. And it's like, okay, maybe they're not being responsible, but maybe I am being irresponsible to my own self because I can't get past it. So anyway, that come across my mind this morning. Taking initiative instead of waiting. I think about a lot of us are in the same business. Who's on your list? Who, like, you got a list? Why don't they get called today? Why don't the action get taken today? I don't know. I think it's being irresponsible. And man, can I do that to myself? And another thing is, I think we got to take responsibility for our own time. How many of you will try to like knock out 50 different things all in the same hour because you can't say no? You know, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. So here's the thing: that's being irresponsible to Brent Palmer or Valerie Hine or Alan Schultz. We've got to be willing to say, hey, look, I'm slammed during this hour. I'd love to do it with you, do it for you at a different time. Right. Um, Here's why it's so important. And I'll end with this: it builds trust. It builds trust. I think about Myra Miles. Myra started this coach's corner with me and Andrea, and she has a pretty big job in society, right? In life. But one of the things I respect about her is she's okay to mark off her boundaries, right? And I think about it and I'm like, it builds trust. It really does. People highly respect her. Um, so being responsible builds trust. It strengthens our reputation. It strengthens our reputation. If I'm somebody like, well, I'm going to leave it at that. It increases personal confidence. Like today, if I pick up the phone and make the calls, my confidence is going to grow. Today, if I let it pass by to the next day, it's not going to grow. It's real simple. If today I do my presentation for the first time, my confidence is going to grow. If I put it off another day, it's another day wasted. Jill, got to brag on Jill this morning. She got a MacBook Pro. She's learning how to use it, right? And guess what's going to happen to her confidence around how to use it? It's going to grow because she took action. So, and I believe the biggest importance of being a responsible human is all of our loved ones, all of the people we care about, they're watching. They're watching. You know, I had the great fortune this just it was amazing this weekend. My son came to the event with us. And there were so many conversations we had on the way back that he was saying, like, Dad, over the years, this, over the years, this, over the years, I've looked at this. He's 22 years old. And it's like, it's, it, we set an example, good or bad, right? We all know that. So that was just my thoughts around responsible. John, I need this word at least once a week to look at because I fail in a lot of areas. But you know what? That's life. So, Andrew, I'll turn it to you.
Well, great lesson. And I think my biggest takeaway from what you said is that having boundaries is actually the responsible thing to do. I've never looked at it that way. I really struggle with these magical boundaries. Have you guys seen the post out on the internet where it's like a stop sign and it's like this big? It's like a little tiny stop sign. And it's like when you're trying to learn about boundaries or something like that. And it made me laugh because I thought, oh, that's something that's relatable. So I love that you tied that together. Maybe this is the year I'll learn how. But the quote that I found was, the price of greatness is responsibility. And that's Winston Churchill. And so what I looked into was, okay, how, I think for the most part, except for these boundaries, for the most part, I feel like I'm a pretty responsible person. I think, until I started digging into it. And then I went, John, why were you such a bully to pick this word? Like, why do you think I needed it so badly? So now I'm looking a little bit deeper. So what I looked into was, okay, well, how do we become more responsible? What can we do to be a more responsible person that other people can count on in their lives? So, first of all, we've got to keep our word. If you say you'll do something, follow through, regardless of what it is. If I say I'm going to pick you up a cup of coffee, you know that you don't have to worry about making a stop on your way to the office. Or something big, if I say I'm going to show up for, an event, well, regardless, I'm going to be there come what may, right? No matter what, I am going to be there. Next, I've got to set deadlines and meet them. I cannot, and I know this one, I cannot rely on memory. I've got to write it down and I've got to stick to it. And yesterday I was driving the kids crazy because we were driving back and I'm driving and I am not one of those. Some people can do this. I cannot like text in any way, shape, or form when I'm driving. I don't have that skill set. So my kids were having to be my external brain. And so I'm like, okay, open up my to-do list, write this down, write this down, write this down. Because as I was going, I was thinking of all these things that I told people I would do that hadn't been written down yet. And so they were having to write everything down. Woke up a kid at one point because I was afraid that I was going to forget it. But that's part of being responsible. I've got to write things down so I don't miss anything. This one that we align really closely here, Brent, there's nothing I hate more. Own your mistakes. Oh my gosh, I hate making a mistake. I don't care if it's a little tiny mistake or a giant mistake. I hate all of it. And there's nothing I'd rather do than if I do mess up to go run and hide from it. I don't want to know. I don't want you to know. But you know what? In order to be responsible, when I make a mistake, I've got to realize it's going to happen. I don't want to, but it's going to happen. And when I do, I've got to own it. I've got to admit it. I've got to fix it and I've got to learn from it because that's part of the process to improve moving forward. Next, to truly be responsible, I got to learn to manage my time well. so that I can avoid that last minute scramble. I've got to plan ahead and make sure that I'm mapping out my days in a way that's appropriate and that's actually I can't accurate. There we go. Like possible. Sometimes anybody else guilty of thinking that, you can do something that normally takes an hour and you can do it in 15 minutes. So you map out your day in like these 15-minute increments and you just set yourself up for failure. So to truly be responsible, I've got to have an accurate account of, well, how long is it going to actually take me to do this thing? And I've got to map my day with those parameters around it. Next, I've got to be proactive. So if I see an issue, I've got to step in and do my best to solve it, regardless of what it is. So it might be, again, it might be a small thing, but it might be a big thing. And sometimes I think the people pleasers among us, you can't see my hands, but both of them are up. The people pleasers among us, I don't want to ruffle feathers. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to address things head on. I've been famous to say, I don't want to deal with the drama, right? But that's not necessarily being responsible. We're humans and we're dramatic. It's not just me. We're all a little bit dramatic. And there's going to be stuff that we have to step in and deal with. When we see something, we got to say something. We see those signs all over the airport, but we've got to do that in our real life as well. Next, I've got to communicate early. I can't leave people guessing. And this can be a little bit of a struggle because maybe we don't want to share all the things, but if we truly want to be responsible, we've got to let people know what's going on so that they can, know what's going on with us so that they can manage appropriately as well. Next, I've got to surround myself with responsible humans. If I'm the only grown up in the group, right, either figuratively or really, I'm going to always have to be the only one that's responsible. And that can be a lot of pressure. So if I want to be able to grow, I've got to surround myself with people that are responsible in their daily actions, the people that are doing the things that I want to be doing. So not only is that going to ease some of the burden for me, but it's also going to help me grow into a more responsible human because I'm going to be influenced by the beautiful people around us. And then lastly, I've got to check myself. Right? I'm going to look in the mirror and say, okay, Rosser, did you handle your business today? Did you do the things that you needed to do to move the needle in your life? Did you exercise? Did you eat well? Did you do the work stuff? Did you have your 15-minute eyeball time with those babies that you adore? Whatever it may be, I've got to go check in and make sure that I did the things that I needed to get done in that day to move myself into the next one. So great word, John. My
Oh,
toes
this
are a
was
little bruised, but we're going to be okay. And thank you, Coach. This was a great lesson this morning.
No, it was an amazing lesson. Thanks, John, for that. Guys, we love you. We appreciate you. Happy hump day. Let's go crush it today. Okay. Have a great day out there. See you
God
guys.
bless you.
Love
Thank
you
you
guys.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day.